Overall, I think we're going to concentrate on the first 5 in the betting in this race. I'd be very surprised if anything else was to win the race. I'm going to start with my selection, which is the Nicky Henderson trained Constitution Hill.
Towards the third last, and it's Dysart Dynamo being joined on the inner by John Bond. Constitution Hill stalks them going smoothly in third. 5 or 6 lengths away to Kilcruit, then Bring on the Night with the yellow sleeves to Shall We Have One More in JPR1, and John Bond took over and Dysart Dynamo crashes out and impedes Shall We Have One More. Dysart Dynamo is up, and now it's the Henderson pair who are left clear, heading towards 2 out. John Bond the white cap, black cap for Constitution Hill, who saunters alongside. The penultimate flight, Constitution Hill and John Bond, inseparable. They're 6 lengths ahead of Kilcruit, who's trying to gather them in back in third, but Constitution Hill sweeps majestically into the lead, rounding the final corner. He opens up by 4, 5, 6 lengths. John Bond is chasing his stablemate, but he's surely chasing in vain. Constitution Hill down towards the last in the Supreme, and he's over safely, and he's over clear, and it's a yawning gap back to John Bond and Kilcruit. It's first strike to Henderson, it's first strike to England in the colours of Michael Buckley. Constitution Hill, a class apart, wins the Supreme. John Bond, his stablemate, makes it a Henderson 1-2. Kilcruit is third. Bring on the Night is back in fourth.
My selection for this race is Honeysuckle. She's a tremendous mare, and I would love to see nothing more than her going on and retaining her title. So Honeysuckle is my selection for the Champion Hurdle. Epatante would be my each way selection, also in the Champion Hurdle.
Descend, freewheeling now, they've got 3 left to jump in the Unibet Champion Hurdle. Appreciate it, has made just about every inch so far. Not So Sleepy at his quarters, and Zanna here racing a very close third. Honeysuckle climbing all over them at this stage in fourth, and Epatante is up her in a right alongside. The mares stare each other in the eye as they bear down on the third last. Appreciated and Zanna here landing first and second. Adagio made a bad mistake, has become a bit outpaced. Now Honeysuckle comes between horses moving up threateningly. Epatante is on their heels as they close in on the second last. Less than half a mile to go, and Honeysuckle is moving through to dispute it with Appreciated and Zanna here. 3 in the line as they make the final turn. Epatante in fourth, chasing, being asked, and now Blackmore shakes up the mare, and Honeysuckle strides on. She bounds 2 lengths clear, chased by Appreciated, the green sleeves, then Zanna here. Epatante is running on under pressure. It's Honeysuckle down towards the last, pursued by Epatante, 2 former winners. Honeysuckle defending her crown, lands a couple clear. Epatante untidy. Zanna here in third, Savoy staying on fourth, but it's Honeysuckle in full bloom again. She stays on powerfully. Back-to-back wins in the Unibet Champion Hurdle. Honeysuckle again. Epatante chased her in vain. Zanna here was third, and then Savoy, Glory and Fortune, Not So Sleepy and Appreciated.
She's one for the ages, and she'll always find a way. 15 out of 15 under rules and 2 champion hurdles. What a performance from Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore.
What do I fancy in the race, now you're asking? It's a tricky question. It's not a race I'm overly strong on anything. If I had to give a selection, I know it's a bit short in the race, looking at the market now, I'm seeing it's the second favourite, you know, so you're looking at probably odds on each way shot for a place. Is Statler. You know, by far and away, it's the most interesting one for me in this race.
As they run to the home turn, and it's still Run Wild Fred. Statler has come alongside, but he's still a neck behind him. They are 10 lengths more than that clear. Vanilla, 2 plain fences to go. Statler, Patrick Mullins on the left, has joined Run Wild Fred, and he's gone past him. And Statler now approaches the 23rd and final fence with a 2-length advantage. A lovely leap over it. Run Wild Fred is in second place. Vanilla is in third. they're heading up the hill then. It is Statler now and Patrick Mullins, a 5 or 6 length advantage. He has pricked, he's got plenty left and he's run out a ready winner. Statler's the winner. Run Wild Fred in second position. Vanilla will be third. The judge might have to decide fourth money. Nearest to us is Pat's Fancy. Furthest from us is Beat the Bullet. It will be a close between those.
But it wasn't close for the win. Far from it. Authoritative performance.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day 4 of the 2022 Cheltenham Festival. This is Reprieve Media CIC Double Handful. My name is Paul Newman, and we're going to take a quick look at what has been a tremendous week's racing. I'll be back shortly with my selections and segments, but first, I'm going to hand you over to a man who this week has frankly been on absolutely magnificent form. His 2 selections in the Champion Hurdle have finished first and second. His 2 selections in the Stayers Hurdle, despite one of them clearly not liking the ground. He talked about how it would like good ground. It rained all day Wednesday, and the horse still did him proud, finishing second place. What a week it's been. Hopefully we can end on a high note at the end. I'm going to hand you over now to Steve Allpress, who's going to take you through his views on day 4 of the 2022 Cheltenham Festival. Thank you very much.
Hello there, Stephen Allpress here again for day 4, the final day of the Cheltenham Festival preview. Before I give my selections for day 4, at time of this recording, we've had 2 days of racing. First of which started on good to soft ground, which dried out to good all over by the end of the day. However, come Wednesday, there was a significant ground change, and the racing was run on soft ground for most of the day, and the day ended up with the going description of heavy, which obviously does open things up and probably has an impact on people's selections. So when selecting horses, you do have to bear this this kind of thing in mind. There might be some horses that act on quicker ground that won't act on soft ground, and vice versa. So there are occasions when you might fancy a horse, but then later on at the last minute, depending on the weather, you might change your opinion. So anyway, now we'll crack on with the selections for day 4. We're going to start off with the Triumph Hurdle, the juvenile hurdle over 2 miles. I'll start off with my selection for the race, which is the Gordon Elliott trained Pied Piper. Pied Piper first come onto the scene at Punchestown just before the new year, when it beat the current favourite for this race, Vauban. Both horses drew a long way clear that day from their rivals, and they took a big jump in the market for this race. On that occasion, Vauban was expected to win, but Pied Piper of the 2 was the one that travelled better on the day, and for me, he was the horse that jumped with more fluency too, and I felt that's what won the day for them, really. Since then, Pied Piper's run at Cheltenham on trials day, and he was a wide margin winner. Again, travelled smoothly and quickened away nicely, and he went straight to the head of the market for the Triumph Hurdle. However, it was just a couple of weeks later when Vauban come out for his second start over hurdles and took on Pied Piper's stable companion in the name of Phil Dore. Prior to that, Phil Dore had run a couple of times in graded company and prevailed both times, looking impressive in doing so. I feel Vauban, at the Dublin Festival, Vauban actually beat Phil Dore, and I felt he put a nice performance, an improved performance on that opening on that seasonal, debut over hurdles, and I feel that he come forward enough that put him certainly in the mix for this race, possibly as the worthy favourite, if I'm being honest with you. However, I do feel that there isn't a great deal between him and Pied Piper, based on both of their 2 runs. For me, Pied Piper is the slicker of the two, and maybe the more relaxed horse of the two, and that's probably what sways him to be in my selection in this race. Obviously, these horses don't have much between them, so it is a case of which one could probably improve the most, and that's what it all boils down to. Whereas Fildor has already had several runs, and I'm not quite sure if there's much improvement left in him. So, as I said, my selection is Pied Piper, but you have to have a lot of respect for the Willie Mullins trained Vauban, and I feel those two will probably be the head of affairs come the business end of the race. So yeah, my selection for the opening race on day 4, the Triumph Hurdle, is Pied Piper for Gordon Elliott. So then, I'm now going to go on to the third race on Friday's card, the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle over 3 miles. My selection for this race is the Gordon Elliott trained Ginto. Ginto has had 3 starts over timber this season, twice at Navan and his most recent race being at Naas. All 3 races were over 2.5 miles, and he'll be stepping up to this 3-mile distance for the first time. Up to recently, it was more likely that he was going to run in the Ballymore Novices Hurdle on Wednesday's card. However, I feel like they've gone with the easier option by stepping him up to this Albert Bartlett over 3 miles. His most recent run, as I mentioned, over 2.5 miles, was against a couple of well-touted horses that were prominent in the market for this Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle until recently, one of which was Hollow Games, who now goes in the Martin Pipe Handicap Hurdle on the Friday, and the other of which was placed in yesterday's Ballymore Novices Hurdle. So the form's been franked. I feel like this is a horse that's improving all the time. He's a horse that runs with that relaxed style. He jumps fluently, and the vibes are from connections that he'll have no problem staying this extra trip, which is one of those key factors that's required for this race. This race tend to have been won over the years by horses that really do dog it out and stay the trip. It tends to be a race that doesn't really suit the flashy horses with that little nimble speed. You do need to have one of those stamina horses, and usually it's a horse that's a well-experienced horse that wins the race. And Ginto, up to now, he's had 3 runs over hurdles, as I mentioned, and he's had two runs in bumpers. So he's a fairly experienced horse as far as a novice would go. So I feel he ticks a lot of boxes for this race, and that's the reason for him being my selection in here. So I'm going to wrap up there with the Albert Bartlett. Right, now I'm going to go on to the blue ribbon event of the Cheltenham Festival, the Cheltenham Gold Cup over 3.25 miles. In recent years, I've not had the best of luck in the Gold Cup, so hopefully this year things will be a little bit different. I'm going to start off again with my selection for the race. This isn't a long-term selection. This is a selection that really I've only come to the conclusion of in probably the last 3 or 4 weeks, and that selection is Galvin. Galvin won the National Chase last season at the Cheltenham Festival, and he's a horse that tends to jump well and obviously stays well, and that's they're 2 credentials that are required for any race, alone the Gold Cup. So those will stand him in good stead for this. He ran very well the Dublin Racing Festival just several weeks ago, and I feel that run was that victory that day just showed me that he's got enough ability and enough pace to win a Gold Cup. Of the others, I've been a big fan of a Plus Tard from the Henry de Bromhead yard, and even though he was defeated by Galvin last time, I wouldn't totally dismiss him of reversing the form. However, I do feel that he's a horse that probably needs to be produced at the right time. He just tends to idle for me a little bit when he gets to the front. That said, also, I just feel he might not quite be as strong a stayer as Galvin, but he's a smooth traveller and he jumps well, and I'm pretty sure win, lose or draw, he'll be bang there as they turn for home. Whether he's good or not, we'll obviously find out. Of the others, the Dan Skelton trained Protectorat, he's a horse that's done nothing wrong. He was a bit, last season I feel he was a bit raw, and he hadn't quite developed into his frame properly, but this season he looks a totally different horse to me, and he goes there with solid credentials also. I do feel he has to improve a little bit on what he's shown so far, but he's at the age, and he's certainly entitled to improve on what he's done. So you'd certainly have to bring him into the equation. Of the others, I'm not overly keen on them, to be honest with you. I feel a lot of them have had their chances, and they're just going to probably fall a little bit short in this year's renewal. And that's including the likes of Chantry House. He obviously won the Marsh Chase last year, and he looked like he was back to his best that day, and he also went on to Aintree after that, and he ran out victorious, although he was a little bit lucky on the day, as one of his main protagonists fell at a crucial stage of the race when he looked to me like he had the race at his mercy. But yeah, I would say the three horses that I've mentioned are the three to concentrate on here. But of the three, I'm going to go for Galvin just to outstay them up the hill. So my selection for the Gold Cup this year is Galvin for Gordon Elliott.
Fantastic, Steve. Thank you very much for those selections. And can I just take this time to say thank you very much for finding the time to give these selections this week. I know you've been travelling all over the country, Cheltenham and back twice. Well, 4 times, I suppose. There and back, and there and back. But it's been a fantastic week. Thank you very much for finding the time. Right, on to my selections. It's a funny day. I seem to have gone from having no runners to plenty, all in 24 hours. So I'm going to run you through the Triumph Hurdle first, the opening race. This has always been a race I like, and in this year it is no different, to be honest. This is a good renewal. I feel the race to focus on is the Maiden Hurdle, featuring both Vauban and Pied Piper. Initially, the pedigree of Vauban caught my eye more, it has to be said, but over the past month or so, Pied Piper, he really has had to enter the equations as well. Both of these horses, I will stress now, they're very well bred. Vauban actually won a listed flat race at Vichy last flat season, and he's also from the family of Waldgeist, Waldfad, Jump Stallions, Mars Marvel that won the St. Ledger, and Waldpark, the German horse. You know, speed and stamina. Waldfad was a good horse. It won the Hackwood, the Group 3 sprint, 6 furlongs at Newbury, and then it was placed in the Betfair sprint, I think, or another sprint race that season, a Group 1. German trained. The female line is superb, German line. I mentioned Wimper as well while I'm here. Why not? While I'm talking about that line. That won the first 3-year-old hurdle at Compiègne last week in France. From the same line. Very nice looking horse. The sire of that one is Maxios. Pied Piper. I wasn't too strong on them, but it was one of them slow burners, you know, where it impressed me visually when it won at Cheltenham. And then I found other horses off this line, and it's a nice horse. It's from one of the Queen's families. There's some useful flat performers on it as well, you know. This horse has won twice on the flat. He's rated 101. And there's also a 151 rated National Hunt horse in there, Border Castle. You know, so he's not rated 151. He can improve. And the line is still going strong as well. If people take a look at the 2021 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint winner, Twilight Gleaming, you'll see that that's from the same line as this. You know, same line. Good horse and a good strong line still. In my view, of two very nice horses. I did look at them. Of the others, Dr. Panassus, I've been on about him for a good few weeks now. The make-believe side half-brother to Metier. You know, he's done 2 out of 2 over hurdles. Obviously, this is a massive step up in class for the horse, but you never know. You never know. He's meant to do it. Teofilo. It's from the family of Teofilo. Metier won the Tolworth. You know, he's been a bit out this year, but since then, really. But it's a nice horse. The rest, well, at this stage, Phil Dorr looked to be well and truly put in his place behind Vauban last time out. And considering the 3 I mentioned, I think have all got nice pedigrees. I think I'll just watch the rest go round and pick them up at a later date if I've missed anything. So in what looks a decent renewal this year, I'm definitely going to side with Vauban. You know, I think it's a nice horse. On now to the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle, the 3 mile stayers race. Hurdles for novice hurdles. I mean, this race can throw up anything. Who knows? Rather like the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, this is a race that tends to throw up interesting horses way, way down the line. Novice chasing, anything. Meaning I tend to take a watching brief most years. There are horses in here that, well, in a few years' time will prove to be top class. I've no shadow of a doubt of that. But I do think that if people look at the SP of the winner over the years of this race, the winner can prove quite hard to find. This year I've stumbled on one. I don't know how I did it. It just ran in the UK and I looked at the pedigree of it. And the rest sort of fell into place. Trained by a man who is used really to training on the flat, the Archie Watson, and trained Staghorn. You know, this horse was useful on the flat. He's by a sire, Golden Horn, that to me is flat to deceive on the flat. I've tried my best with him. If people look at his leading progeny on the flat, you'll see 1 or 2, maybe 3 pattern race performers. I've identified all of them. You know, I've tried to put him with a decent dam and see what he can do. But the dams just aren't there for him. You know, not that I've seen on the flat. This mare, the mare was placed in both the Parkhill and the Lancashire Oaks of Staghorn, Group 2 races. The second dam was a listed winner on the flat in France. And there are many other performers around the 110 mark on the flat as well, if people look at this pedigree for themselves. Obviously, I'd like to see more National Hunt form. That was the only thing that put me off it. But when I went further back in the pedigree, I saw the second dam. She's a half-sister to Fragrant Mix. You know, good National Hunt sire. Sire a winner of the Ryanair Chase, Alexandra. And that was all. I was happy then to go with it. And then it won again, second time out. And I thought, in a listed race. And then I thought, he's off to the Triumph. He's off to the Albert Bartlett, this horse here. A bit like Dr. Panassus, you know, massive step up in class needed. This pedigree, though, it's a decent line. The third dam is related to Grade 1 Man of War Stakes winner in 1986 in America and sire, Dance of Life. Couldn't really find any record of him siring anything, though. I didn't really look. I only looked on the racing post. And the fourth dam is related to the US champion turf horse of 1971 called Run the Gauntlet. You know, nice pedigree. I'm beaten over hurdles, and I can't wait to see how he gets on, really. Should be interesting. I'll enjoy it anyway. Another one that caught my eye to a lesser extent is the Nice Guy. You know, I've always liked a Malcolm Denmark horse. They stay. They obviously want a fence and about 3.5 miles, but they normally got a good stout pedigree. You know, they're normally good strong horses. This one here, I've seen better bred ones. This one is out of 124 rated half-sister to former festival winner Messini's Maguire. You know, won the Ballymore, it beat Tidal Bay. I'll never forget that day. All in all, an interesting race moving forwards as well. As on the day, it's usually a race at the full picture of it. Well, it takes years to develop. I mean, you look at these races. I will always be reluctant to take a short price here, no matter how good the form is or the pedigree. So horses like Ginto, who've ran well with good form, like Steve mentioned, I'm more than happy to pick them up. A short price winner of a race like that who impresses on this race over fences or in a stayers hurdle next season and go again. You know, these horses are too short. You know, I've identified no matter of novice hurdlers, novice chasers over the years and never been able to bet them because they've always been too short. It's just the way it is. My selection in this race is going to be Staghorn each way, I think, without any shadow of a doubt. On to the Gold Cup now, the blue ribbon race of the whole meeting, the Cheltenham Gold Cup. It's the same race really every year. If people look at it, the same horses do tend to turn up in it. It's a track that suits itself to a certain type of horse up the hill. You know, it's always been a minefield in my view. And this year's race looks absolutely no different. They're all just a year older or a year better or whatever, what way you want to look at it, depending on which horse you fancy, really. Me in this race, I always like to chance something different if I can. So I was delighted to see Protectorat improve into a Gold Cup horse. Whether he is or not, we will find out. Because one thing that does put me off the horse, I will have to say it, is his obvious lack of course form. You know, he's never really proved itself around Cheltenham. You look at his form at Aintree, well, I think he's won his last 2 Grade 1 chases by about a combined total of 40 lengths, maybe more. You know, it's Aintree in a few weeks, isn't it? You know, we'll see. But he's never really proved it around Cheltenham. I personally, if I was mine, I'd have ran him in the pillar chase. You know, but I think, and if Protectorat doesn't run well tomorrow for any reason, I will say that it's the trainer's fault because they could have found out in the pillar and they just chose not to. You know, the rest of them, well, you pay your money and take your chance with them, don't you? You know what they are. Just listen to last year's recording. A lot of the same horses have turned up. Minella Indo, Alboon Photo. They're all nice horses, very nice horses with proven course form, you know. That's why it's such a tough race. So for me, I will chance Protectorat each way, I think. Quickly now, before we move on to some selections, I've got to touch on the Mare's Chase because it's an absolutely fantastic race. Just like last year's when LMA and Cole Reeve produced one of the finishes of the week. This week, well, we've got some top-class horses in there. Mount Ida, who won the Kim Muir last year, well, she's gone from strength to strength this year, you know. She's won well on both her starts. Ellie Mae, the older half-sister to Goshen, who was chinned on the line last year by Cole Reeve. She flies to deceive to me, really, this year. But she did get her head in front last time out. And in last year's maiden run into the race, she proved it would take a good one to beat her, without any shadow of a doubt it will. Then we have Concertista, who could be that horse. A beautifully bred mare with a superb flat pedigree, related to horses like Slalom on the flat, who was placed in the French Derby. Top-class Wertheimer flat line as well. Follamore is another one. A lot of good horses on this line. Has run with credit at the last 3 Cheltenham Festivals she had. Her first ever hurdle start, she was placed in the Mare's Novice Hurdle. Then she won the Mare's Novice Hurdle the year after. And she was beaten by a horse I identified, Black Tears, in the Mare's Hurdle last year. You know, so superb Cheltenham Festival form she brings to the table. Another one I will mention is Scarlet and Dove. Yeah, that's the Gigginstown mare. Is a nice mare. You know, the dam of it is a half-sister to Al Connor, who has to be one of the most impressive Triumph Hurdle winners I've ever seen in my life. She seems to enjoy chasing Mount Ida home, though. It'll be the 3rd time she will have raced her. I mean, why don't they just try and not race Mount Ida and try and get her head in front? But I don't know. Anyone think there's only 3 Mare's Chases all year? I think this is a very tough race, this is. And it will come down to jumping on the day. You know, they've all got some good form, some good jumping, some nice pedigrees, really, as well. I think the race form of Ellie Mae, though, on the day will just prove crucial. The other 2 races, well, I can leave them well alone after what's been a very long week. You know, I might chance them in them, but probably not. So before I give my selections quickly, I've got to touch on the selections of Steve Allpress. Unfortunately, Steve is unable to get through to us tonight to get his selections to us. So he's asked me to pass on his selections, which I will do now. His nap of the day is Ginto in the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. His each way selection of the day is Hollow Games in the Martin Pipe conditional jockeys handicap hurdle. And his Gold Cup selection, his very tentative Gold Cup selection on the day, each way if preferable, looking at the prices in the morning, is Galvin. Carol, again, I will just take this opportunity to thank Steve for joining us all week. I know he's disappointed. He can't say that himself. He's loved this week. He's been on top form. His selections have been fantastic. It's just been a long week. We'll just move on to my selections now quickly. The Triumph Hurdle, race 1 of the day, is Vauban. The Albert Bartlett, Staghorn. I'm actually going to chance one in the Mare's Chase, Ellie May. And in the Gold Cup, my tentative each way selection, and I just hope the trainers haven't made a massive mistake, is Protectorat. Another one I will mention that I've just spotted off the line of Waldgeist, the one I mentioned earlier that's running tomorrow, is Colonel Mustard. It's running the 2:10, the County Hurdle. First time in a handicap, outside of novice company. Obviously I'd have preferred it to be a bit of a bigger price. But it's ran some creditable races in defeat this year. And off that line, I'm probably willing to chance that. Right, we're going to leave it there now then, folks. From Steve and myself, thank you very much for joining us all week. It's been an absolutely superb week's racing. Good luck to everybody with their selections on the Friday, the final day. And may all the horses come back safe and sound. I've been Paul Newman. And for Steve Allpress, may we both wish you thank you very much for listening and goodbye.